Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ishmael Interactive's CX Pod. I am joined today by CEO Anna Monroe. And Anna, why don't you lead us into our conversation? Because we're going to do something a little different today, aren't we?
We are. And that means we're going to turn the questions on you. You're the interviewee. I know, right? Do you feel like you're on the hot seat?
Little bit,
Yeah,
but
it's
it'll
different.
get comfortable.
It's new and different. And as I tell
Yes.
my children, new and different is scary, a little bit, but we're gonna do it. So yeah, as Aaron said, I am Ishmael Interactive CEO. My name is Anna Monroe. And I'm here. I'm really excited to talk to you today, Aaron, because our conversation builds on the work we used to do together in the General Services Administration, GSA, and the federal government, right? And it also builds on the work of another previous colleague because we're all friends here, Mark Vogelgesang, who you interviewed a little while ago,
Yes.
and we posted. So, folks, you can go find that on our YouTube channel or on our website, ishmaelinteractive.com. And Mark is an amazing person. I think that we can both agree to that. And he is currently a product manager at Salesforce. And when he was at GSA working with us, he was a project manager. He was, in fact, my project manager for our enterprise digital experience project. And you were the project manager there after Mark, right? Yeah. So this
Yes.
project was huge, and it was actually never had been done before. The CIO of the agency told me to my face uh,
Did it?
that it was not possible.
Right.
Yeah, he told me
Right.
that people have tried before, you'll never pull it off. We did pull it off, which was so exciting. And in fact, we pulled it off, right, through really, really knowing our jobs. And that's what we're here to talk about with you today, Aaron.
Yes.
Building on Mark. Mark is a product manager, right? He's a product manager. And you, in our GSA days, were the project manager. And I think these
Yes.
terms are so easy to kind of confuse. They're very like, who knows who does what. And so I wanted to ask you, what is your definition of a product manager and a project manager, and how are they like similar and different?
Yes. So, uh, and this is going to be related to your question. When you say that I was managing this project, I was managing the project management of this project because there is a distinction. And the distinction is a product manager, product D,
Okay.
is sort of the voice of the customer is the first step that I'd like to take to understanding that position.
Okay. So a
They,
product manager is the voice of the customers. I just want to make sure I'm
yes.
tracking. Okay, good. Okay.
Yes, a
All right.
good product manager, and Mark was is an excellent one. Salesforce doesn't hire scrubs; they're very good at
Truth.
what they do. Uh, is the voice of all the stakeholders because they know that you can't serve a customer without making sure that everybody else who is pouring into that system is well served.
Yeah.
So that's a distinction there. They'll keep the requirements mapped, they'll keep them updated, they'll make sure that as the environment around a product or a service changes, so do the requirements that you're trying to fill and the understanding that you're trying to have.
Okay. So that really sounds to me from my like human-centered design like background like continuous customer research.
Yes.
Okay, so that actually, so what I'm hearing is that product managers have a vested interest in doing customer research. Would you
Oh
agree with
yeah.
that?
Oh, it is the majority of the job in my heart.
Okay, so actually this seems like a really good time to kind of mention the HCD guide series from Ishmael Interactive. The first one is called HCD Discovery. It is in fact customer research from soup to nuts. It is the whole process repeatable so that you can do that continuous customer research without driving yourself bonkers, being able to compare your research findings from one instance to the next. It's on ishmaelinteractive.com. It's a book, so you don't have to sign up for a platform, which is so great. So that's the HCD Discovery Guide on ishmaelinteractive.com. Get to it if you're a product manager. I'm guessing if you're a project manager, it's also useful to have customer research. Is that true?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So get
Absolutely it
at it.
is.
Okay, I will shut up about books now and let's continue going. So a product manager has to know the stakeholders. All right, that's where we are. Keep
Yes.
going.
Oh, also available on Amazon. Have to get that out
Oh,
because
forgot.
it's the first
Yeah.
thing I've ever had on Amazon. That's just cool.
It's the first thing I've ever had in Amazon. So,
Yes.
and you had to tell me how to do that, which was teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, a project manager. A project manager is responsible for the execution side. And I say the execution side, making sure that these deliverables actually get executed upon, because what you are trying to do, and this is sort of the nature of a project manager in my heart, and what I think is an effective one, is they are focusing in on making sure that people do what they're good at.
Okay.
You want to keep people in their strengths as often and as long as possible. So a good project manager is not trying to be a developer. They are not even trying to be a product manager. They are not trying to be a designer. What they are trying to do is to make sure that the efficiency in between all of those steps is through the roof. So when
So,
you say customer research, when you do customer research, you're often researching the intersection between two areas.
yep, that's true.
I was often researching my own team, having conversations with them, taking notes about that, making measurements that you can find the process for in the discovery guide to make sure my team was effective and happy and just
Got it.
chugging along often enough.
So a project manager with a J, project manager, is often like your core constituency, to use some very government terms,
Yes.
is the team. Is
Yes.
that okay? And the
Absolutely.
product manager, the core constituency, is sort of external to the team. Like so Mark's peers or my peers or whoever, and your senior leadership or your upward leadership. Is that accurate? This is
Yes.
great. I can see how the system works now. So Mark said that the vast majority of his work is having conversations. And he frequently has two conversations, one with his peers and one with his leadership. But these conversations are kind of topically similar because they all come down to prioritization and trade offs. So if he's the product manager and there is a peer who has a great idea, he has to talk to that peer and kind of see if there's resonance between what the team is working on now and this idea, and if there's bandwidth to execute on that. And then the same thing happens when leadership comes down. You do have to have those tough conversations about trade-offs, which was something I had to struggle through in with some of our senior leaders because that prioritization in GSA just like wasn't really there for us. But so what is your perception of that breakdown for product managers, and how is it similar or different to what you're doing as a project manager?
Well, as a project manager, those conversations are also very often occurring, usually in tandem with the product manager. So I was, after Mark was the project manager, he moved over to product on our team, and we would often work together on these things. But a reason why you have those conversations and why you separate team and leadership is all about the efficiency. You were trying to reduce and distill the amount of information that is traveling up from the team
Mm.
to leadership in a way that best reflects the knowledge and perspective of the subject matter experts you have at hand.
So you have to kind of do the AI summary of everything coming out of the team. Is that
Yes,
correct?
just
Okay.
just human.
Yeah, obviously. Obviously, yeah.
Yes.
And so what about prioritization? Like how does the project manager work with that prioritization? Because we've all known product managers and leaders who kind of struggle with that conversation where like you know, you have 8 hours in a day, 40 hours in a week, you don't want to burn people out. Like what is the project manager's role in that prioritization conversation, and how do you execute on it, right? Because you were saying project
Yes.
manager executes on things.
So the project manager will often have a better line of sight to points of requirement and priority that aren't beholden to a specific stakeholder, but necessary components of process. So,
Oh, so you make it about the process.
yes. So, for example, as a project manager in government, You are very often having to consider what I would consider non-negotiable priorities because they are not necessarily reflective of a specific customer or somebody who's doing a specific job, but they are just codified into law because of ethics.
Or just because it's codified into law. Like I
Yes.
remember the 21st century idea was something that we dealt with a lot, and the law said these things, and we had to do the things, and they were not they were not optional.
Yes, and a project manager will often have to speak for those and work them into the requirements that are being tracked by the product manager. I
Got
also
it.
see them often as a check on each other because a product manager is making sure that you're not getting lost in the sauce or losing a requirement in
Got
all
it.
of that balance. A project manager is making sure that the product manager is also considering the different subject matter aspects of a requirement and still talking to the team. Because it is very easy for a product manager to think that they are, by virtue of doing research, an expert in policy, an expert in
It is a
development.
foible of the product
Yes,
manager, I can admit, yes, to think that we are all knowing about all the things. You know, we've been around the block usually by the time you're a product manager. But okay, point taken, right?
yes,
So let's really get narrow on your experience. So you were the project manager of this huge project called the Website Evaluation Project. And in that project, I very casually and with absolutely no stress decided that we were going to actually do the foundational work to make the 21st century ideas, legislations, requirements a reality. And that meant getting to know every single digital property in GSA, every
yes.
single one, and evaluating them along customer experience measurement model that we created, actually using the tenets that I wrote down in the HD measurement guide, which is coming up, and we'll talk more about that later. But you then, what this meant for everyone listening, practically is that Aaron, every January, would go ham and just like emailed a third of everyone who ran a website in GSA, which it
It's quite
started
a
at
few.
232. We got it down to like 154-ish, I want to say.
Yeah.
Um, and some we didn't know who managed these websites. Like we did not know. Like legitimately no one, it's like who's on first for like months. So every January, Aaron would go ham and email like a third of the website managers in GSA and get on their schedules for an hour-long meeting, which is hard. Think of this like so there's 232 people. You have to email a third of them and coordinate their schedules. And so this is what Aaron did. And then he would assign like people to be the interviewer and the note taker in these website evaluation qualitative research conversations. This whole thing was a massive research project because we had to get that foundational data in the door. And then we would all just kind of show up, right? Like I would show up with my colleague and like whoever was leading the interview would do the thing. And then we would like write the evaluation and it landed on the people's desk in we done 2 week sprints. So at the end of the third week. Um, and Aaron, you did all this. And I remember thinking, I don't know how he did that. It didn't matter for my purposes. I was the product manager, right? I was the program
Yes.
manager, technically. So tell us just a little sketch of how you did this as a project manager, how you managed this like insane amount of like very, very difficult human and yet technical work. Like calendar management is quite technical. Tell me.
So the first thing to do is to make sure I am not doing the things that I have people for.
Sure.
You're the program manager. You have the job of making sure that the person who's handling the project that establishes the web manager roster happens and it finishes on time. I know it's going to be there. I don't have to lose sleep over it.
So the first thing is to know what you don't have to do.
Yes,
Got it.
exactly. And just like you said, we all just kind of showed up. That's the feeling I want you to have.
That is literally, I felt like I was going through TSA. I just showed up
Yes.
and I just like follow the directions. And at the other side, I got to go to my gate slash write a website evaluation.
The only thing I want you thinking hard about is the stuff that you're actually specialized at, that you're good at. Everything else is as easy as possible.
So how'd you do that? Like, give me a few steps. You don't have to be exhaustive because that
Yeah.
would be insane.
So first step is to make sure that we have the cadence with the other projects that are happening throughout the year.
So you know how to
So
fit in, how it fits in with everybody's schedules. Got it?
yes, not only everybody's schedules, but a good project manager has to at least be interested in how the program management works.
Yeah, because you can't just be heads down because there's a
So
dialogue between the pressures on a team. Yeah.
I have to make sure that I have the outputs from the projects that I need as inputs for my project, and that I am passing on in my project outputs that other people will need as inputs. So for example, I need the updated web manager roster. And all of these audits, all of these reviews, all of these interviews are going to feed back to performance evaluation that happens for the C-suite. So it has to happen on time. So it has to be locked into a very specific schedule.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing is to make sure that you have a well-rounded team to lean on, because you do need somebody for each of these tasks. You took care of that for me. It was a very well-rounded team. When I needed somebody to talk on policy, we had that. A
Right.
developer, we had that.
Because in the course of talking to these unknown folks, these website managers who you frequently didn't know, they all came to the job with different specialties. So if you were going to you're going to email someone and you looked at them and you realized they had a policy background, you might kind of circle with our policy expert and be like, how do I best have this conversation so this person actually shows up because everyone's quite busy. So just to review, kind of your three things that you need to be a successful project manager when you're taking on a massive project is to know what you don't have to do, to understand the things that other people need to make their work over the course of a year and how everything sort of dialogues together. And you have to know who on the team to go to for specialized knowledge because you're having so many conversations with so many different people. And that's how you ran this project. Is
I'm
that
gonna
roughly accurate?
I'm gonna sneak in a fourth thing,
Okay, sneak it
even
in.
though I know we like lists and threes, but I'm gonna go number four,
Okay.
which is it's a living plan.
Oh, crucial. Yes,
Yes.
very crucial. Yeah.
In the beginning of the year, I would have sort of that heads down time where we're establishing the plan, and I
I
do
believe that
not
was called
have,
going ham. I think that's the
yeah,
technical term. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have time for anything else. But during the rest of the project, I'm always spending 10 to 20% of the time doing the tweaks, doing the updates,
Mm.
keeping things on track. No plan survives first engagement.
Yeah. Mike Tyson, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Yeah. I love that
Exactly.
one.
And you're gonna get punched in the mouth
I
every
felt like we
single
were getting
time.
punched in the mouth every
Yes.
February. Yes.
Yes.
Um,
And that's really the secret sauce is you got to know how to navigate and manage that so you don't just totally go off track on the project.
all right. Thank you so much. So, what I've heard today is that product management and project management are inextricably intertwined. They have a lot to do with customer research or HCD discovery, as we have called it and have written the book on it. They have to work together in order to build and manage a team that is well rounded. And as a project manager, you have to always know what you don't need to do on the team. You always
Yes.
need to understand the other pressures on the team, their deadlines, their workload, what they need from you to make their work go and what time during the year. And you also need to understand that everything's going to change.
Yes.
Not, and it shouldn't change crazy, but you will have to, like you said, spend 10 to 20% of your time on those tweaks and changes. Is that accurate?
Yes. And it won't change crazy as long as you are watching it.
Right.
If
You
if
have
you
to
let
pay
it sit for a
Yeah.
month and then come back, that change is going to be crazy because you haven't been putting your eyes on it.
Yeah. Great. So, final thought. For someone who's looking to make the leap from project management to product management, What do you think they should focus on, given what you've said to people? What do you think are the things that are closest in the task base between a project manager and a product manager that a person who wants to make that shift could be successful in that?
I would say I'm gonna skip the easy things. You
Okay.
know, it is
Yeah.
very easy to be good at both of these if you look at the templates and the specialized training. There's a ton in both.
Yeah, I've
This,
never found those trainings to be particularly realistic, though.
yes, the skill that you will need in the real world that you need for both, the thing to lean on. Because if you are a product manager and you want to make that crossover or vice versa, the thing that they both do very well is to have that human end of knowing your team and getting to know what everybody in your team is specifically good at. And when I say specifically good at, I mean very specifically. So, for example, you need to know more than, hey, my policy person, I have a policy person. You need to know my policy person is very good at putting things into plain language.
Right. So you need to sort of go two levels deep on interest in people. So you need to be good at having conversations. You need to be interested in people, and you need to like truly, truly execute on that at a pretty regular cadence because people shift around. That's great advice. I don't know of anybody who's gone from product management to project management, but I guess that's like totally a move people could make. I would say that project management is a little bit more for folks who are super interested in keeping a small group cohesive. Whereas project management is for people who are really, really interested in how a certain program, in my case, a certain product fits in with the larger ecosystem of an organization. Is that kind of an accurate breakdown?
I would say fitting in with the ecosystem of a larger organization is a program management.
Oh, yes.
Well, actually, no. Wait, let me think about this.
I think it's a semantic difference.
It's a semantic difference. It
Yeah.
does work because you have to make sure, like we were talking about, that the thing you are serving the customers also works for the people who are pulling the whole thing off.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah, no, I think you're right. It took me a second to consider it.
Yeah.
Um, but that is a good breakdown.
All right, great. Thank you so much for this conversation. I've actually always sort of wondered about this difference. If anyone listening disagrees with this, please let us know. You can do it in the comments. You can email us at hello@ishmaelinteractive.com. But I'm really happy to have this conversation. I think it's something that really, really confuses a lot of people.
Yes.
And again, if anyone is listening and you're interested in knowing more about how to do those continuous conversations with stakeholders, you can call them customers, look at the HCD Discovery Guide because I wrote it all down because I don't think you should have to guess at this stuff. Aaron, do you want to give us the outro here?
Yes. Thank you so much for joining Ishmael Interactive's CX Pod. I'm Aaron Myers, and we'll see you next time.